Ilya Kovalchuk, waiting for his hour of TV fame. So let's try to run down what's going on or not going on with the hockey free agents. Michael, Ilya Kovalchuk may or may not be in the NHL. Should that be our conclusion to what hasn't happened yet?
Yeah, I think that's a logical conclusion. And a lot of people say, well, so what if he goes back to Russia? Well, so what? He's one of the top, fill in the blank, 10 forwards in the National Hockey League. People have looked at Jágr going back or even Yashin going back and saying, well, these guys are over the hill. Who cares? Now you're taking a guy in his prime, a regular 40-goal, sometimes 50-goal scorer, and he might go back to Russia. I would be concerned if I were the NHL.
Well, and it's interesting because if you look at players who have gone to free agency in their primes, like Kovalchuk is, there's never been one, I believe, who's hung on the market. I mean, I think the longest big name who's hung on the market, maybe Sheldon Surrey, when he eventually got a deal at Edmonton. Usually these kind of players have been snapped up in the first 48 hours after free agency. This is kind of uncharted for the NHL in a couple of ways.
But I wonder, too, whether some of the NHL teams that are dealing with this guy are going, I don't know. I mean, you can talk if you want that he's a top 10 forward in the NHL. Is he a top 20 player? He can score goals. Mm-hmm. But the kind of deal that he's talking about, I mean, he's a guy who's already turned down $100 million. Do you really think that he's going to make such a difference to any team in the league that it's worth signing to this guy? I think he's the wrong guy trying to get money that's not there for him.
How much of it has to do with the fact that he's Russian? I mean, if he's from Barrie and has that skill set, because
he's from Barrie and he's won 1 of 9 playoff games that he's played in his entire career, I don't think it matters.
Well, and Alex Ovechkin didn't seem to have any problem getting a 13-year contract.
But Ovechkin is the exception to the rule in the way people perceive. I think this guy, the better parallel to this guy is Yashin, who has been another famous playoff flop player who signed a mega deal that eventually the Islanders had to walk away from.
I'm kind of with Michael on this. You can shrug your shoulders and say, who cares, we'll replace him and he costs too much money and all of this. But when Evgeny Nabokov went back to Russia, nobody seemed to care. And yet there'll be an NHL team next season that will wish that they had paid Evgeny Nabokov what he's making in Russia, because there, I think, will be 4 goalies next season in the NHL making more than that, $7 million plus. And Nabokov had better numbers last year than all 4 of them. So letting this kind of talent get away is maybe a good business decision, but there'll be hockey minds that say, I'm not sure we did the right thing. And Kovalchuk, if the Devils can find a way to come up with his number or he can meet theirs, the Devils will be helped by Ilya Kovalchuk's presence, because without him, check Zach Parise and you beat the Devils.
Yeah, but the problem is they weren't helped by him.
Well, that was a short sample size.
But that's why he was there, though, right? I mean, they weren't helped by him. And I really believe that to some degree he's pricing himself out of his value. I mean, if he's taking $6 million, $7 million a year in a 4 or 5 year deal, he's got a long list of teams interested in signing him. But this crazy 10, 12, 15, 17, whatever year deal, $100 million, whatever.
What about 10 years at $10 million at 6 years? Does that make any sense? Would that not make sense for the Los Angeles Kings and any?
I don't think so. I don't think so, because of their situations with Doughty and Simmons and Johnson.
And again, does he sell a ticket? Does he really sell a ticket?
Well, L.A. is always looking for stars, and has.
But did he sell tickets in Atlanta? So I mean, again, if you've got to make a business case for the guy, and they couldn't make a business case for him in Atlanta.
I think this is just a lot of this, as Damien suggests, is just simple economics. It's a guy pricing himself above the market, and any doubt about that, I think, has been proven by the past 2 weeks.
Well, the market then has suddenly taken a correction, right? Because there's a goalie in Vancouver going to make $10 million next year.
I think that's part of these long-term deals, but also it's this player. I think you have to evaluate teams saying, what is this player going to do for us? When they look around and seeing players who make, we're right on the heels of the playoffs, and you look when the guys who are making a difference aren't those guys. It's other guys.
I mean, I think he does fit in New Jersey, and even more, I think he fits in Los Angeles. How long are we going to have to hear that the Los Angeles Kings are the next team to watch? Strike out next at some point, and give me a reason to say they are the team to watch next season. With Ilya Kovalchuk, perhaps, because I don't know another one. But without him, no, they're still going to be that team with a bunch of kids, and eventually they're going to be good.
Well, but in this economy, kids go from making not very much to a lot very quickly. The jump to that second contract, and I think that's what they're thinking of, because they're playing a little bit for the long term and looking down the road at how that contract would box them in.
Dean Lombardi is among the most conservative of GMs. And if it does ever work in LA, it's because Lewicki, the president of the team, is saying, okay, he's our star, we can build a marketing campaign around him. But Ilya Kovalchuk is not Ovechkin. It does not light up an arena.
Well, and this is a team that's already losing a whack of money in a market where David Beckham arrived and didn't make a big difference, involving some of the same people. And I think after a while, people are starting to look and saying, does one guy make a difference? Well, if he does, there's about 2 or 3 of them on the planet in each sport.
So thinking on Russian free agents has suddenly become rational. The Philadelphia Flyers just signed Nikolai Zherdev.
1 year. 1 year. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, bye-bye.
And it didn't work for Ken Hitchcock, and it didn't work for Tom Rennie, and it didn't work for John Tortorella.
I think this plays
is
into
hockey's oldest teenager.
This plays into the Kovalchuk deal. Zherdev can play over in Russia. If it's so good, he can play there, but he wants to come back. That tells you something about the KHL, about how much guys really want to play over there. He's got a 1-year deal. He's a talented guy. If somebody can get him to play, maybe he can help.
And there's no downside. I mean, there is a downside, but the downside has a cap on it, if I could use that term.
And Mike Modano has to decide if he wants to play again. Now he has a couple of choices, I guess, if he wants to consider Minnesota. I don't know why he would. I mean, Detroit is the place he should play another year at whatever money and try to win, right?
I guess. I mean, I think that people always have mixed feelings about seeing players who've spent their career with one team and have done glorious things and now are at a different stage. But it is ultimately, if there's a market for the player, it's his right. I personally would like to see him retire.
Well, and this isn't Ray Bork. He already has one. Mm-hmm. Right. So there isn't that sort of seeking the elusive championship.
But if he gets a chance to play in Detroit for $1 million or so, he would be playing presumably on the third line between Hoodler and Cleary. That's pretty nice company for a guy.
But you've got to also believe. But you've also got to believe a guy who's lost a lot of money in his career through some bad business deals is going to want to play for $1 million, $1.5 million.
Well, you know what? He's not playing for more than that anywhere.
No, that's all they've got.
No,
they got $1 million.
That's it.
No,
he knows that. I think.
Yeah, and that's still pretty good money.
Pretty good, but it's not $10 million. That's it for TSN, the reporters, and the podcast. Till next time. Thanks for being with us.